Picture this. I'm standing at the edge of my kitchen window, staring out at the gray drizzle coating our suburban street, and I can't shake the feeling that I'm watching my own life slip through my fingers like wet sand. My name's Rachel, and at 27, I thought I'd have it all figured out by now. But here I am, caught in a quiet storm of my own making, married to a man I love but can't seem to reach. Ethan, my husband, is 30, a software engineer who's always tethered to his laptop or buried in late-night deadlines. We've been together for 4 years, tied the knot in a small backyard ceremony with fairy lights and promises we swore we'd keep. I do love him, don't get me wrong, but lately, every time I try to talk, to connect, I'm met with a distracted nod or a mumbled, "Later, babe." It's like I'm shouting into a void, and the echo of my own voice is all I get back. That kind of silence builds frustration, the kind that festers and gnaws at you when you're alone too much. I work part-time as a graphic designer, sketching logos and tweaking layouts from the comfort of our home office. It's flexible, sure, but it also means I've got hours, too many hours, to sit with my thoughts. I overthink everything. The way Ethan's shoulders slump when he comes home, the way he barely looks at me some days, the way I'm starting to wonder if I'm invisible. Our house, a modest 2-story in a sleepy suburban neighborhood, feels more like a shell than a home lately. The garage out back, though, that's different. It's become this unofficial hangout spot, cluttered with old tools, a beat-up couch, and a mini fridge always stocked with beer. That's where Ethan comes alive, where he laughs and unwinds, not with me, but with his 2 best friends, Mark and Caleb. Let me tell you about them. Mark and Caleb have been in our lives since college, both 29, and they're as much a part of Ethan's world as I am, maybe more. Mark's the kind of guy who fills a room without even trying. Tall, broad-shouldered, with a rugged edge to him. Think scruffy beard and a grin that could charm anyone. He's always got a quip ready, always lightening the mood. I've caught myself smiling at his dumb jokes more than I should, feeling a warmth I don't always get at home. Then there's Caleb, the quiet one, but don't let that fool you. He's intense, with these sharp green eyes that seem to see right through you. Lean and athletic, he moves with a kind of purpose, and I swear he notices everything, every glance, every shift in tone. Being around him feels like standing too close to a live wire. There's a buzz I can't quite name. The 3 of them, Ethan, Mark, and Caleb, have a bond that sometimes leaves me on the outside looking in. But yesterday morning, everything started to shift in ways I didn't expect. I woke up to a day already heavy with pressure. My alarm blared at 7:30, and I dragged myself out of bed, rubbing sleep from my eyes, knowing I had a big client meeting in the afternoon. I needed to be sharp, prepared, and on time. My car, though, a rusty old sedan that's seen better days, is my lifeline for errands and appointments. So, when I shuffled out to the driveway, keys in hand, and turned the ignition only to hear a pathetic sputter and then nothing, my stomach dropped. I tried again, twisting the key harder, as if sheer willpower could force the engine to life. Nothing. Just a faint click and silence. Panic started to creep in, clawing at the edges of my mind. I couldn't afford to miss this meeting, not when I've been scrambling to prove myself to this client. I hurried back inside, my bare feet cold against the tile floor, and grabbed my phone to call Ethan. He was already at the office, probably hunched over his desk, lost in code. I dialed his number, pacing by the kitchen counter, hoping he'd sense the urgency in my voice. When he picked up, I spilled it all out. How the car wouldn't start, how I was stuck, how I needed him. But his response was a distracted sigh, followed by, "Babe, I'm swamped. Got a deadline. Can't leave right now." His tone was clipped, almost annoyed, like I was just another task on his endless list. I bit my lip, feeling that familiar sting of resentment bloom in my chest. Before I could argue, he muttered a quick "sorry" and hung up. I stood there, phone still pressed to my ear, listening to the dead air. It wasn't just about the car anymore. It was about how I always seem to come second, how I'm left to figure things out on my own. I started pacing the kitchen, my socks scuffing against the floor, my hands trembling as I fought back the tears prickling at my eyes. I felt so helpless, so angry, at the car, at Ethan, at myself for relying on him when I should have known better. My mind raced, searching for a solution, and then it hit me. Mark and Caleb. They're both good with cars, always tinkering with something in the garage when they're over. If anyone could help, it'd be them. Desperate, I shot off quick texts to both, explaining the situation and begging for a hand. Almost instantly, my phone buzzed with replies. Mark's message popped up first, playful as ever. Your knight in shining armor is on the way. I couldn't help but crack a small smile despite everything. Then Caleb's came through, short and to the point. Be there in 20. Relief washed over me, though the frustration still simmered beneath it. I'm still catching my breath as I stand in the garage, the weight of the day finally lifting off my shoulders. After a couple of grueling hours, Mark and Caleb have worked their magic on my old sedan. Mark swapped out a dead battery, his hands steady and sure as he wrestled with the corroded terminals, while Caleb tightened up some loose connections under the hood, his focus razor sharp despite the sweat beading on his brow. I'm overwhelmed with relief, a tidal wave of gratitude crashing over me as I watch them wipe their hands on old rags, their faces smudged with grease, but wearing small, satisfied grins. I can't thank them enough, my voice almost breaking as I stammer out my appreciation over and over. I rush to the mini fridge in the corner, grabbing cold sodas for all of us. The cans icy against my palms as I hand them over. They accept with quiet nods, and we collapse onto folding chairs near the open garage door, letting a faint, warm breeze drift in to cool our overheated skin. The atmosphere in here feels like a snapshot of a long, hard day. The sharp tang of engine grease lingers in the air, mixing with the faint metallic scent of tools scattered across the workbench. In the distance, I can hear the steady hum of lawnmowers from somewhere in the neighborhood, a reminder of the mundane world ticking on outside. The late afternoon sun spills through the open door, casting long, lazy shadows across the concrete floor, stretching and warping over the clutter of our little sanctuary. We're all sweaty, tired, our clothes sticking to us, but there's a strange comfort in this shared exhaustion. I pop the tab on my soda, the fizz a small burst of normalcy, and take a long sip, feeling the cold rush down my throat. At first, the conversation is light, almost effortless. Mark cracks a joke about how Ethan owes them big time for playing mechanic today, his voice carrying that familiar playful edge as he leans back in his chair, one arm slung casually over the side. I manage a laugh, though it feels a little hollow, and nod in agreement, saying Ethan's probably too buried in his work to even realize what they've done for me. But as the words leave my mouth, something shifts. Maybe it's the way the silence stretches after I speak, or the way Mark's grin fades just a touch. But I find myself talking more, spilling thoughts I've kept locked up for too long. I tell them how invisible I've felt lately, how Ethan's distance has carved this aching hole in me, how I miss the way we used to be, connected, close, like we could face anything together. My voice trembles a little, and I stare at the soda can in my hands, unable to meet their eyes as I admit how much it hurts. They listen, really listen, and I can feel the shift in their demeanor. Mark's usual cocky energy softens, his posture straightening as he leans forward slightly, elbows on his knees. Caleb, who's always so guarded, keeps his gaze fixed on me, those sharp green eyes unreadable but intense, like he's seeing every crack in my armor. After a moment, Caleb speaks up, his voice low and measured, admitting that they've noticed Ethan pulling away too. Not just from me, but from everyone. There's a weight to his words, a quiet acknowledgement of something we've all felt but never said out loud. Mark chimes in, his tone gentler than I've ever heard it, saying, I deserve better than to feel like this, deserve someone who sees me. His eyes linger on mine as he says it, a warmth in them that sends a jolt through me, something I can't or won't name. The air in the garage grows heavy, charged with something unspoken. I'm suddenly hyper-aware of how close we're sitting, the three of us in this tight little circle, the heat of their presence both a comfort and a spark I can't ignore. My heart starts to race, a mix of nerves and something dangerous stirring in my chest. Before I can stop myself, the words tumble out. A confession I've buried so deep I barely recognized it until now. I tell them I felt drawn to. I'm standing in the garage, the early evening light fading into a soft, muted gray, as I crumple empty soda cans in my hands, the sharp edges biting into my palms just enough to keep me grounded. Mark and Caleb left a little while ago, their goodbyes hanging heavy with unspoken promises to keep what happened between us locked away. I'm alone now, the silence of the space pressing down on me as I wipe down the folding chairs with a rag, trying to scrub away any lingering evidence of the moment we crossed a line we can't uncross. My hands are trembling, each movement jerky and unsteady, like I've had too much caffeine, or too much guilt. My face feels hot, flushed with a heat that won't fade, and my mind is a chaotic mess, racing between shame and the adrenaline still buzzing through my veins. I glance over at my car, now fixed and sitting there like nothing's wrong, and a bitter laugh escapes me. How ironic is it that something as ordinary as a dead battery led to a decision that's torn my world apart? I toss the last can into the trash with more force than necessary, the metallic clang echoing in the empty garage, and head inside the house. My footsteps feel heavy, like I'm dragging the weight of what I've done behind me. I make my way to the bathroom, stripping off my clothes as if shedding them could strip away the memory, and step into the shower. The water hits me hard, scalding at first, but I don't flinch. I turn it hotter, letting it pound against my skin as I scrub with a loofah, harder and harder, as if I can wash away the guilt that's clinging to me like a second layer. But it doesn't work. No amount of soap or steam can erase the feeling of their hands, the heat of their closeness, the way I let myself fall into something I knew was wrong. My skin turns red under the pressure, but the weight in my chest only grows heavier. Under the rush of water, my thoughts spiral. What if Ethan finds out? The fear of that moment, of seeing betrayal in his eyes, twists my stomach into knots. I don't even understand why I let it happen. Was it the loneliness, the ache for someone to see me, to want me, after so long of feeling invisible? Or was it something darker, something selfish that I can't admit even to myself? And the worst part, the part that makes me sick, is that even now, after everything, I can still feel that pull toward Mark and Caleb. It's like a current under my skin, a dangerous whisper that hasn't gone quiet despite the regret. I shut off the water abruptly, the sudden silence deafening, and wrap myself in a towel, my reflection in the foggy mirror a blur I don't want to face. I slip into a loose shirt and sweatpants, my damp hair sticking to my neck as I wander into the living room, my phone buzzing on the coffee table. It's a text from Ethan, short and to the point. Working late, home around 11. Relief floods me for a split second. I've got more time to pull myself together, but it's quickly swallowed by a surge of anger. Late again. Always late. Always somewhere else when I need him here. I clench my jaw, tossing the phone back onto the table and start pacing the room, my bare feet padding against the hardwood. I rehearse excuses in my head, testing them out loud in a whisper. Just a long day, babe. I'm fine, really. Or maybe, Mark and Caleb helped with the car, that's all. My voice sounds hollow even to me, and I know if he looks too closely, if he really sees me, he'll know something's off. I've never been good at hiding things from him, not when it matters. The clock on the wall ticks louder with every passing minute, each second winding me tighter. I stop by the window, peering out at the darkening street, my breath fogging the glass as my mind replays every detail of the afternoon. The way Mark's voice dropped low, reassuring me in a way that felt too intimate. The way Caleb's gaze held mine, I hear the front door creak open, and my heart lurches in my chest. It's Ethan, finally home, the clock just ticking past 11. I'm in the kitchen, trying to keep my hands busy, wiping down the counter for the third time even though it's already spotless. The sound of his footsteps, slow and heavy, echoes through the quiet house, each one tightening the knot in my stomach. I glance toward the doorway as he steps in, and the sight of him hits me like a wave. He looks utterly drained, his tie hanging loose around his neck like a noose he forgot to tighten. His laptop bag slung carelessly over one shoulder, dragging him down. His brown eyes, usually so warm when they meet mine, are clouded with exhaustion, shadowed by dark circles that seem deeper than ever. There's a rough stubble dusting his chin, a sign he hasn't bothered to shave in days, and his shirt is wrinkled, untucked, like he's been running on fumes for hours. He barely looks at me, his gaze skimming past as he mumbles a low, "Hey, Rach," before dropping his bag by the door with a dull thud. I force a smile, though it feels like it might crack my face in half and try to sound normal, like nothing's wrong, like my world hasn't tilted off its axis today. "Hey, how was your day?" I ask, my voice a little too bright as I turn to the microwave, popping open the door to heat up some leftovers. I can't look at him for long. I'm afraid he'll see right through me. My fingers fumble with the container of pasta, and I nearly drop it, cursing under my breath. My voice betrays me, cracking on the last word, a tiny fracture in the facade I'm desperately holding together. I'm sure he notices. Ethan's always been perceptive, even when he's distracted. I brace myself for a question, for him to push, but instead, there's just this heavy pause before he speaks again. "Long, brutal," he mutters, his tone flat as he leans against the counter, rubbing the back of his neck. Then, almost as an afterthought, he adds, "Saw Mark's truck parked down the street earlier. Did they swing by to help with the car?" His words are casual, tossed out like they mean nothing, but they land like a punch to my gut. My breath catches, and for a split second I freeze, my hand hovering over the microwave buttons. My mind scrambles, racing for a response that doesn't sound like a lie, even though that's exactly what it will be. "Yeah, they did," I managed to stammer out, keeping my eyes glued to the glowing numbers counting down on the display. "Got it running again. Saved the day." My words feel clumsy, too rushed, and I can feel the heat creeping up my neck. A telltale flush I can't control. I don't dare look at him, not yet. The silence that follows is suffocating, pressing down on me like a physical weight. It's not just quiet. It's loaded, thick with things neither of us are saying. I can feel his eyes on me now, or at least I think I can, and my skin prickles under the imagined scrutiny. When I finally risk a glance, turning my head just enough to catch his expression, I see something there that makes my chest tighten. It's not anger, not yet, but there's a flicker of something, doubt maybe, or suspicion, etched into the lines of his tired face. His brows are slightly furrowed, his mouth a tight line, like he's turning over a thought he doesn't want to voice. But he doesn't push. He just nods slowly, his gaze dropping to the floor as he shoves his hands into his pockets. "Good," he says simply, and that single word feels like a judgment I can't escape. The guilt is a living thing inside me now, clawing at my ribs, making it hard to breathe. Every word I've spoken tonight feels like a betrayal, each syllable dripping with deception. I've never been good at this, at hiding, at pretending it's the next morning now, and the house feels emptier than ever. Ethan left for work about an hour ago, after a breakfast that passed in near silence. We sat across from each other at the kitchen table, the clink of his spoon against his cereal bowl, the only sound breaking the stillness. I sipped my coffee, staring at the steam rising from the mug, unable to find words to bridge the gap between us. He didn't say much either, just a quiet, "See you later," as he grabbed his bag and headed out the door. I watched him go, my chest tight with a mix of relief and dread, knowing I'm alone again with my thoughts. Thoughts I can't seem to escape no matter how hard I try. I'm sitting on the couch now, a fresh cup of coffee in my hands, the warmth seeping through the ceramic into my palms. It's supposed to be comforting, but it does little to ease the storm inside me. Through the living room window, I can see the garage, squat and unassuming in the pale morning light. It looks so ordinary from here, just a part of the everyday backdrop of our life, but I know better. That space holds secrets now, ones that have changed everything. I shift in my seat, catching a faint whiff of oil still clinging to the sleeves of my hoodie from yesterday. I didn't wash it, didn't even think to, and now that scent is a stubborn reminder of what transpired. It pulls me back to the heat of the moment, the sound of Mark's low chuckle, the way Caleb's voice softened as he spoke words I shouldn't have listened to. Their voices echo in my mind, fragments of conversation and unspoken tension replaying like a broken record I can't turn off. I take a shaky sip of my coffee, the bitterness sharp on my tongue, and let my gaze drift back to the window. What have I done? The question loops endlessly in my head, each repetition heavier than the last. I keep seeing flashes of yesterday, feeling the rush of adrenaline that came with letting go, with stepping over a line I never thought I'd cross. It was a moment of reckless abandon, a fleeting escape from the loneliness that's been eating at me for months. But now, in the cold light of day, that escape feels like a trap. The guilt is a weight on my shoulders, pressing down so hard I can barely breathe. I betrayed Ethan, betrayed the promises we made to each other, and for what? A fleeting thrill that's left me hollowed out, questioning everything I thought I knew about myself. I set the mug down on the coffee table, my hands trembling slightly as I wrap my arms around myself, as if that could hold me together. I don't know if I can tell Ethan. The thought of confessing, of seeing the hurt in his eyes, makes my stomach churn. How could I even begin to explain it? How do I admit that I let myself get swept up in a moment of weakness? That I sought something outside of us, because I felt so unseen within our marriage? But keeping this secret feels just as unbearable. It's a poison seeping into every corner of my mind, tainting even the smallest interactions with him. Last night, every word I spoke felt like a lie, every glance a risk of exposure. I'm terrified he'll see through me eventually, that he'll sense the shift in me and demand answers I'm not ready to give. And then there's Mark and Caleb. I can't stop wondering if they'll keep their word, if they'll hold this secret as tightly as I'm trying to. We agreed to never speak of it, to bury what happened in that garage beneath layers of silence. But can I trust that? Mark, with his easy charm and quick smile, will he let something slip in a moment of carelessness? And Caleb, with those piercing eyes that seem to see everything, will he hold this over me, even unintentionally, with a look or a word that carries too much meaning? The uncertainty gnaws at me, a constant undercurrent of fear that this will come back to haunt me when I least expect it. I can't shake the feeling that I've handed them a piece of power over. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment if you enjoyed this story. This will help us create more engaging stories for you.